today I'm going to be telling you all about the Titanic. 2 weeks ago, I went to the Titanic exhibition and I saw a lot of interesting stuff about the Titanic. Since it was so fascinating, I did a unit study about the Titanic. RMS Titanic 1912. It's a British luxury passenger liner that sank on April 14 to 15, 1912. It sank during its maiden voyage to New York from Southampton, England. Here's the route for the Titanic. They came from Southampton to Cherbourg to Queenstown, but the Atlantic, suddenly there was an iceberg, and the Titanic hit the iceberg. That's where it sank. It sank in Newfoundland. Unfortunately, they didn't make it to New York. We got these boarding passes from the Titanic exhibition, and these are how the boarding passes actually looked like back in the day. Did you know the Titanic was as long as almost 6 airplanes? That's so cool. Or you can imagine, the Titanic was as long as 59 cars. That's so big. Can you imagine how big that would be? And for the weight of the Titanic, you know an elephant usually weighs 8,500 pounds. But if you have 10,153 elephants, that's how much the Titanic weighs. Isn't that so heavy? And for the total weight of the Titanic, it's 43,150 tons. That's so much. The Titanic sank in 1912. 73 years later, the wreckage was found in 1985. It was 13,000 feet below surface in the North Atlantic. It was found by Robert Ballard. Now let's go to the timeline. 1908 to 1909. They started building the ship in Belfast, Ireland. And finally, April 10, 1912. They started boarding passengers into the ship. April 12 to 13, 1912. It sailed smooth and had 2,233 passengers on board. The night of April 14 at 11:40 p.m., there were lookout spots for the iceberg. The ship tried to steer around it, but hit the right-hand side. By 12 midnight, the captain said the ship will only stay afloat for a couple of hours and gives order for help on the radio. By 12:25, lifeboats loaded women and children first. Over 1,500 people remained on the ship since there were only 20 lifeboats. By 2:05 a.m., the rear of the ship breaks off. By 2:20, the water pulls the ship back high into the air before pulling it underwater. The remaining passengers are stranded in icy waters and unable to be saved. 8:50 a.m. The Carpathia ship only managed to save 705 passengers and made its way to New York. These are the important people. Edward Smith is the captain of the ship. Bruce Ismay is the managing director of White Star Line. Thomas Andrews is the ship architect. And William Murdoch is the officer in charge of the ship. Let's learn about the Titanic breakup. The Titanic had 3 classes. The 3rd class was close by the ship's gears. First class is right here. Second class was here. And 3rd class was here. The stern area also contained the large storage, such as cargo baggage, kitchens, and other crew spaces. When the stern was pulled in the icy surface, it was full of air pockets, which imploded as it sank. When it was reported that those passengers in lifeboats could hear the boom when the stern hit the bottom, that's why it's no longer recognizable. Here is the statistics. First class, there was 325 passengers and 202 survived, and 123 died. And in second class, there was 285 passengers and 118 survived, and 167 died. Third class, there was 706 passengers and there was only 181 that survived, and 525 died. Most of the passengers are the crew. 885 passengers. 209 survived and 676 died. These are the total passengers in the ship. There were 2,201. How many survived? There was 710. And who died in total was 1,491. That's a lot. This is a pie chart. The ones that are shaded survived, and the one that is a light color died. Total deaths. First class was 123 people who died. Second class had 167 who died. Third class had 525 and crew had 676. The total is 1,491 people. And for the last part, here are some well-known people on board. Charles Jockin. He was the baker of the ship that survived because he consumed a lot of alcohol, whiskey. During the sinking, the alcohol insulated him from the freezing water. Molly Brown was played by Kathy Bates in the movie. She was an American socialite and has a lot of charities. She took leadership to help out, to row the lifeboat by women to help out. She was also an activist for women's rights. Melvina Dean, the youngest passenger on board. She was only 9 weeks old. She was known as the last living survivor. She died May 31, 2009. And for the last part, well-known Titanic passengers who didn't make it. John Jacob Astor IV, first class. He was the richest man on board. His family owned a very famous Waldorf Astoria hotel in New York. In the movie Titanic, did you see an old man and an old lady hugging in a room when the Titanic was sinking? That's who we're about to introduce right now. They are Isidore and Ida Strauss. They're in first class. They are very rich husband and wife. Ida did not want to leave her husband, so she refused to be in the lifeboat and put their maid instead. And also in the movie, did you see a lady tucking in 2 children in bed during the Titanic was sinking? That's Margaret Rice. Margaret Rice was a third-class passenger. She was an Irish immigrant with 5 sons with her on board. She was able to secure her sons' places in the lifeboat, but no room enough for her to join them. Instead, she remained on the ship. I hope you guys find my unit study interesting and helpful. This was based through our research and watching the movie. And for the exciting part, we also did a remake on the Titanic menu. We get to taste history since food is a window to the past. Bye guys, see you on my next video.